And now, ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the Dean of the George Washington University Elliott School of International Affairs, Ambassador Reuben E. Brigady II.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Ambassador Reuben Brigady, and I am the Dean of George Washington University's Elliott School of International Affairs. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the GW campus on this splendid fall evening, and it is a particular pleasure to welcome you to this event, an address from Nobel laureate and founder of the Grameen Bank, Professor Muhammad Yunus. On this auspicious occasion, the George Washington University is thrilled to be the new host of the Grameen Bank and Trust Student Internship Program. Instituted in 2009, the program will offer internships to GW and non-GW graduate and undergraduate students to work on projects at the Grameen Bank and the Grameen Trust. These projects will provide valuable hands-on experience for students in microfinance, poverty reduction, and development. This is an exciting opportunity for our community, and we are enormously grateful to Mr. Chris Fussner, who is in the audience today, for his efforts in making this internship program as well as tonight's events possible. From our Institute for International Economic Policy to our Institute for Development, our International Development Studies program, GW students and faculty are tackling many of the challenges that we will discuss today, those of microlending, poverty alleviation, and social entrepreneurship, to name just a few. Now it is my distinct pleasure to formally introduce you to our keynote speaker this evening, Professor Muhammad Yunus. Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus is the father of both social business and microcredit, the founder of Grameen Bank, which he established in 1983, and of more than 50 other companies in Bangladesh. For his constant innovation and enterprise, Fortune magazine named Professor Yunus in March 2012 one of the greatest entrepreneurs of our time. Born in the seaport city of Chittagong, Professor Yunus studied at Dhaka University in Bangladesh, then received a Fulbright scholarship to study economics at Vanderbilt University. He received his PhD in economics from Vanderbilt in 1969, and the following year became an assistant professor of economics at Middle Tennessee State University. Returning to Bangladesh, Yunus headed the economics department at Chittagong University. In 2006, Professor Yunus and Grameen Bank were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Professor Muhammad Yunus is the recipient of 55 honorary degrees from universities across 20 countries. He has received 112 awards from 26 countries, including state honors from 10 countries. He is one of only 7 individuals on the planet in history to have received the Nobel Peace Prize, the United States Medal of Freedom, and the United States Congressional Gold Medal. Professor Yunus has appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show, The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, The Colbert Report, Real Time with Bill Maher, Hard Talk on BBC, and even The Simpsons. Financial Times chose Professor Muhammad Yunus as one of 6 finance pioneers. In the March 31st, 2015 issue of Financial Times, in an article entitled Business Pioneers in Finance, Professor Yunus was placed alongside Warren Buffett, Amadeo Gianni, Henry Kravis, J.P. Morgan, and Mayer Amschel Rothschild as one of the greatest business finance pioneers of all time. He has appeared on the cover of Time magazine, Newsweek, and Forbes magazine. We greatly look forward to hearing his insights this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Muhammad Yunus.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm very delighted to be here. This is my family visit because we have a relationship between our organization and GW for a long time now, receiving students from this university coming to us, trying to explore what we do, and we enjoy having them. And I hope we'll get more of them so that we can share our experiences with young people and get their perspective, what they want to see in the world. One way I can share with you is my experiences, how I gone through this. I will not elaborate on the microfinance part. Many of you are familiar with that, giving small loans to poor women. Started 40 years back in one village, gradually spread. Created Grameen Bank, and the idea of microcredit spread around the world. But I want to share how microcredit and Grameen Bank has changed me. Because that gave me a chance to come close to people at the very bottom. When you come close to them, you start seeing things differently. You almost try to see the world in the perspective of the people who are at the bottom of that world. And that repeatedly reminded me how unfair that world is from all counts. And every time I see that, I try to see if in my way I can make a change in that. I'm not relying on somebody else to do it because it's a long process to make it happen. So every time I confront something, I try to see if I can do something myself. And that's how Grameen Bank came in. I was not trying to do massive change in the whole world, but I thought I can do something that I see in front of me in my own way to address that issue. It's very tiny, very small, but it raised issues of a nature which touches the whole world. When you work with the poor people, you get not only the financial part of it, there are many non-financial part of it. For example, first few things that we noticed right away as I was expanding in the village and the few villages next to each other, health issues. If you are poor in health. It goes together. I see something which I never felt, never knew before. First thing that I've confronted with, the night blindness among the children. As the sun goes down, children can't see anything anymore. They become blind. To me, it's a completely new information. Living in Bangladesh all my life, I was not aware that this is something, reality of life of many people in the country. And it worried me because these children will probably will not be able to see at night anymore. When I talk to doctors, experts, what is happening, they said this is a disease. It's known as night blindness. And I asked, can it be cured? Yes, it's a very simple thing, it can be cured. It is caused by vitamin A deficiency. So I had a discussion with how to overcome vitamin A deficiency. They gave me a long list, tablets, vegetables and all things. So I took the vegetable option. I thought this is much easy for people to cope with. So I tried to explain to people who are in my program to see they can feed children the vegetables that they need to give it to them. But I soon found out that they are not following that up. So I came up with another idea. Maybe I'll make it easy for them to do that so that they feel encouraged to do that. They were complaining that seeds are not available, so I thought seed would be the good starting point. So I started bringing seed to them. Put them into tiny little packets. Each cost you about a penny, each packet. And as our staff go around in the village meeting the borrowers in their weekly meetings, they also carry their seed packets and sell it. People see it, oh, why not? I'll take it. And it's spread around the house. Vegetables grow. It became very popular. And we sell those to cover all the cost. I didn't want to make it a burden on the borrowers, on the bank, to pass it on to the borrowers. So it has to be self-sufficient by itself. By its sales proceeds, it should cover its cost. As Grameen Bank grew, our seed business grew. Because by that time, not only Grameen borrowers, non-borrowers are also interested in a good seed, good vegetable, they like that. After a few years, when we became big, by that time, night blindness almost disappeared in the country. So that encouraged me that you don't have to be a doctor to address the problem of diseases. There are many things, just habit and so on. So I got into sanitation, toilets don't exist, so we make it a bank's program to bring toilet to every family, which we successfully did. It became, even the non-Grameen people started buying our top toilets because it's cheap, it's available, we handle it. We made series of these kind of interventions. I almost make it a point that every time I see a problem, my mind works in the direction of creating a business to solve it. Seed was an example. I create a business to solve it, it helped. Toilets, I create a business, solved it. And many others. In the process, created more than 50 companies, some of them nationwide companies, largest company that you can think in the country. But I didn't realize it will create controversy. It created controversy because what kind of business is this? Because they said, this should not be a business. I said, why not? I want to sell seeds. Who can stop me? And I don't want to make any personal profit. I don't think Bangladesh has any law that if the person doesn't want to take his own profit, he should be jailed. So I'm not violating any law. All I'm doing, creating a business with a clear understanding that I will not make any money personally out of it. It will be a business to cover its cost. Investor can take back the investment money, whatever he or she has invested. That's a simple idea. So out of this controversy, I had to define it, refine it, and so on. Finally, settle down with a name for it, call it social business. Define it by saying it's a non-dividend company to solve human problems. And created all these social businesses one after another. I did not realize that others are watching me. One big company in France became very interested in our work, idea of social business. They want to start a social business jointly with us. There's a company called Danone, which is a milk product company, Danone in the USA, they call it. So we jointly created a company, a social business company, to produce yogurt, very special kind of yogurt, to solve the problem of malnutrition among the children. Almost half the children of Bangladesh are malnourished. It's a very sad way for a nation to grow up with such a huge malnutrition, with stunted growth physically, stunted mental growth. So that's not a way any nation should prepare their next generation. So there are a lot of efforts, but still malnutrition continues. So we thought we will have a social business intervention to see how much we can do that. So we created this company, made a very special kind of yogurt to put all the micronutrients which are missing in the children, put it into the yogurt. If you put so many micronutrients in a small cup of yogurt, I can bet you it will taste very ugly. But it is the technology of a company like Danone. They know how to suppress those bad taste and give it a good taste and give it a very attractive taste so the children love the taste. And we set up the factory, we produced it, children love it. We made a very special kind of marketing so that we can reach the poorest families, because they don't come to the supermarket to buy their groceries. They just buy whatever is available around them. So we go door to door to sell them. So now it's working, it's a very popular item. But none of us, neither Grameen nor Danone, has any intention of making money. It became very successful. It has encouraged other companies to join in. So we have joint venture with Veolia to create a social business, to bring water. Bangladesh has a big problem of water. We have plenty of water. We are very lucky in water, but not drinkable. Our surface water is polluted. Underground water is highly contaminated by arsenic. So you are caught. Almost half the population of Bangladesh now drinking arsenic-contaminated underground water from the hand tube. So we created a small company to begin with, to experiment with it, so that to see whether people will buy it, because if they don't buy it, we don't have a business. Luckily, people found reason, because we make it so cheap that they can bring their jar, fill it up, pay a tiny little money, and that's it, we cover our cost. So this is the social business series that became now International Connection. Another company came in, they met us, they want to explain how seriously they're considering having social business with us. They read my book, they're very excited about the idea, they want to make happen. So I said, okay, let's see where we can do that. We invited them to work with us in Colombia, because by that time we are already working in Colombia. Colombia had a problem with their coffee. Colombian coffee disappeared from the market. They are not the king of coffee anymore, because Vietnam and Indonesia took over the coffee market. So the farmers who or the farm workers who were engaged in coffee growing, they didn't have much to do. So they invited us to help them. And I invited the company who was willing to do that. They introduced me that they're a company which is involved in potato. I said, can you tell me what kind of company it is? What do you do with potato? He said, I don't know anything about you. So the guy felt a little bit embarrassed that I don't know anything about them. I said, do you like French fry? I said, well, I like French fry, I love it. He said, next time you eat French fry, remember, if you eat French fry anywhere in the world, most likely you are eating McCain French fry. And we are the one, McCain. We control 50%, 60% of the potato market. I said, oh my God, you're big. He said, yes, in potato, we're big. We're a big potato. I said, that's good, so let's produce potato in Colombia. So that's a long story. We created a company called Campo Vivo, brought potato, trained people to grow potato, which they never did before in that region that we were. And they got the highest yield in the first harvest. Their yield was almost 2.5 times as much as the national average of potato yield in Colombia. So they were very excited. They got lots of money. They can produce and sell to the international market. Because through McCain, either McCain will buy or somebody who offer a better price, they will sell it to the better price, not to McCain. So they were very excited. In the meantime, McCain became very excited. They started to do more of social business in France because the company works all over Europe. France produces lots of potato. The next social business they created was something related to potato in France. They announced it. They invited me to join the announcement in France. They explained that 26% of the potato grown in France are thrown away. I was surprised. He explained 20% of the potato are shaped improperly, ugly potato. They literally use the word ugly potato, meaning that it has no market value. They cannot make French fry out of it. They cannot make chips out of it. So they don't buy it. Producers don't have much use of it. How much potato can you eat by yourself? Tons and tons of them. They just throw it away. It's part of the cost. 6% of the potato cannot be picked up from under the ground because the big machines which pick up the potato is not capable to get 100%, 6% in general left. So they created a social business company, took the unemployed young people from France, collected all these unutilized, throwaway potato with a small price to the farmers. They were happy, they were selling it. And designed some special implements through engineering universities in France so that they can use the hands to pick up the implements and the hands to pick up the potato which is left behind. So out of the 26%, they can go up to 22, 23% picked up. What do they do with it? They produce potato soup. Social business potato soup. They're not doing it to make money. They're making sure that the wasted food is utilized, wasted human resource is utilized. And one chef from Paris, he said, I would give you a very special recipe, and you can use my recipe and my image on your container, showing that it is me who has designed it, so that people have respect for this potato soup. Now it became very popular. Now Belgium became interested, so we are expanding it to Belgium. Next will be the Greece, so on social business. So social business thing is moving. While we are doing social business, microfinance, and so on, many other issues keep coming. One, I will give you example in Grameen Bank, again, back to Grameen Bank. Now we are dealing with the second generation of the Grameen Bank borrowers. Children grow up, because we are 40 years, they have children who grew up, and we made sure they go to school, all 100% of them, because the parents are illiterate. But we wanted to make sure children do not repeat the same history as the parents. So that we achieved, get them to school and go to school, and then gave them education loans so that they go into higher education. But the problem began, there's no job in the country, not for those millions of young people. They keep complaining, what do we do? I have no answer. Finally, I took a position. The moment I hear that I don't have a job, I kind of attack the person who is saying I don't have a job by saying, who asked you to have a job? Why are you looking for a job? I get puzzled. What kind of question is that? I said, I thought the idea of job was such an obsolete idea. It should have ended in the last century. How did it sneak in here? Is it an artificial idea of having a job? You tell yourself that I'm not a job seeker, I'm a job creator. And behave like a job creator. Start something on your own. They get very puzzled. How do I do that? Many said, well, I have no idea how to do that. In school, they don't teach me how to do that. And how do I do it? I said, aren't you the son or a daughter of Grameen families? When did your mother start to take money from Grameen Bank? So it will be 20 years, 30 years, 25 years, whatever it is. The first loan, how much first loan she took? Usually $20, $30, $50. That's the first loan. Your illiterate mother, a village woman who never seen the world at all, took $30 loan from Grameen Bank and started a business. And that's her beginning point. And then she paid it back, took the next one, and took the next one, and moved up. She sent you to school. You finished your school. You finished your college. You tell me that you have to have a job? Your mother was not applying any place. She just went ahead and did something and continued with it. I said, if your school has changed your mind completely, then what your mother is thinking, that school is the wrong school. They didn't give you the way to make yourself somebody else. They now become dependent on something that you never had. I said, why don't you go back to your mother and learn from your mother how to start a business? And come back and tell us what you do. So what we did, we create a social business fund, asking all the young people to come with business ideas, and we become your partner. And you run the business. We are your financial partner. You are the operating partner. Make it successful. That's it. That's it. In the beginning, they were very cautious. They don't know how to do it. But once somebody did it, and 1, 2, 3, 4 goes, just like microcredit. Now, every day, every week, we are financing all these young people coming up with business ideas and so on. We started 2 years back. Now we have nearly 10,000 young people with business loans that they have received, or investment, not a loan, it's an equity. And they feel very happy, very excited with the business and so on. So I said, the idea of unemployment is an artificial concept created by the idea of employment. I tell them, look, it's a silly. Human beings are not born to work for somebody else. That's not the destiny of human being. That's not the history of human being. Back in history, when we are here on this planet, we are not sending job applications anywhere. We got things done ourselves. That's our history. That's in our blood. We are problem solver. We fought with the nature and survived and overcome all the odds. That's what history made us. We are go-getters. Job is not a go-getter. And human beings are creative beings. Enormous creativity, unlimited creativity bundled into each human being. Job is not the path of creativity. If I want to be nasty, I may say, job is the end of creativity. Because you start the job at the very end, at the very lowest end of the whole spectrum. And there you are supervised by your tiny little boss. Your tiny little boss cuts you into a small shape that he can handle. And in the meantime, you trim off all your creative power. Only thing you use what he needs or she needs, your boss. So your creative part is over. And that's a destructive process. Why should you accept that? Anyway, that continued to issue come back. But that led me to another issue. This is what I wanted to discuss. I look at the world, all these things that are happening. Suddenly I become aware that all these things cannot solve our problems. Because the machine that we built, the economic machine, the structure, itself is running in a very wrong direction. It pushes all the wealth to the top. The wealth concentration is taking place way up and is becoming bigger and bigger, bigger every day. If you have a machine which is pushing all the wealth to the top, nothing much left in the bottom or the middle. Some, you can explain how much is in the top. Some will say 1% of the global population has more than 99% of the wealth of the world. You can debate whether it's 99%, whether it's 90%, doesn't matter. The whole wealth is in the hands of few people, only few people. Rest of the world doesn't have much left. So 99% of the people has 1% of the wealth of the world. What kind of system is that? How can we go on with that? When we come up with the employment issue, working for somebody else, I said, look, who are you working for? Are you working for those people who have 99% of the wealth, making up wealthier, dedicating your life, they can become more wealthy? Is that what you do? Then who do you blame? Because you are doing it yourself. You become a mercenary to help other people make wealth. That's not the purpose of a human life. Human life has more meaning than that. Why don't you find that meaning? What is the purpose of that life? Some people give a statistic that 62 people in the planet right now owns more wealth than the bottom half of the entire population of the world. It gets uglier when you compare. 6 years back, it was 388 people who own more wealth than the bottom 50%. So the message is getting more and more concentrated every day. That speed of concentration is something very, very terrifying. We cannot sustain this society, this world, human population, in that kind of a system. We have to find a way. Because of this concentration, it creates unhappiness at the very bottom and the middle and so on, because they don't get anything. Even the recent wealth that is created every year, 80% of that wealth gets into the hands of the top people, top 1%. Remaining 20% is spread for the whole world. So there is unhappiness, anger, and they blame each other for which they suffer. They blame trades, somebody's taking away our resources. They blame immigration. They blame people coming from outside, all kinds of things. Creates total political instability. To me, it's like a time bomb. If we continue to do this, it's a ticking time bomb. It will take over everything that we have. That's not a good system. If you are convinced that this is the system, this is the way it's happening, we must address that. How do you address that? I have to come back to that issue again and again. We talk about 3 zeros. We create a world of 3 zeros. Zero number 1, zero poverty. And we have mechanism that we have laid down which happens. Zero number 2, zero unemployment. Because unemployment is not something that belongs to human beings. It's a wrong kind of thinking forced us into employment seeking. If you become entrepreneurs, world will be a different world. Third zero is zero net carbon emission, which is familiar to you. Luckily, we signed the agreement in Paris. Now we can move in that direction. We have dates 2050 so that we can make it happen. But the issue that I'm trying to underline is the second one, unemployment. We don't have to look for that. If we become entrepreneurs, if we do it in Bangladesh, it happens, it's possible. In the beginning, you don't know you're entrepreneurs. Suddenly, you discover because it's in our blood. That's the point. If we give them an opportunity will be coming in the financial institution redesigning. That's one. The reason I'm focusing on that one particularly, if each one of us become entrepreneur, most of us become entrepreneurs. So not 1% of the people will be controlling the whole world of business. Each one of us will be controlling the business because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not serving him. I'm serving a cause that I create on my business. So each one will be accumulator, not few accumulator, and the rest is working for them. If each one of them, maybe wealth concentration in the beginning will slow down because I'm not contributing to his wealth. I'm also drawing some wealth for myself in the process. So this is one. And then for 3 zeros, I put 3 powers which will make it happen. The power of social business. This is the power which will make the 3-0 possible. Power of young people, because the young people are completely different from the previous generation. They're more oriented to see a new world than our generation was. So maybe with those technology in their hand, with this new kind of perspective they get, maybe they will think of a world completely different than we have already created for years. Get away from those structures which we built and created all this problem for us. And second one, social business, youth, and the third one is technology. Technology is soaring, but that technology goes not in the direction that will help us, because technology is driven either by money makers or by war makers. We need social direction to technology. We are trying to do it in Bangladesh, and I'm sharing, and we can all do together. On the healthcare side, I said all the smartphones can become the delivery point for all health services. Particularly, all the diagnostics can be done with the mobile phone. All the technology can be brought into it. And it will be almost costless. Health service, today it is not designed in the way it is available to the bulk of the people, particularly the people at the bottom. So we need to redesign that whole system depending on the technology. And that technology can transform the entire health service together. And social business, put into it, suddenly changes the whole thing. So that's the whole idea, that we have to stop the wealth concentration. This is, unless we do that, we destroy ourselves. Second, we have to create this world that, let's work for it, with 3 zeros, 0 poverty, 0 unemployment, and 0 net carbon emission. And if you do that, then we lay down the foundation of a new civilization. This civilization is not sustainable, all the reasons that I gave you. And this is a greed-based civilization. We have to come out of the greed-based civilization to a human value-based civilization, where we'll say goodbye to all this and create the one that we always wanted to have for ourselves. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, excellent. Yes, it does. I'll go there.
Professor Yunus, thank you very much for that masterful presentation, and also for the emphasis on entrepreneurship. So now all of our students can go home and tell their parents that a Nobel laureate told them they didn't have to get a job.
Absolutely.
They should make their own.
And also the parents go home, tell their children, don't plan for taking a job, you become an entrepreneur. I'll do everything possible to help you become an entrepreneur. That's a promise. Exactly. The parents have to make. Thank you.
So we have a few questions that have been submitted by the GW community, both here and abroad. And Professor Yunus, the first question is this. At its infancy, microcredit loaning was championed as the model to end poverty worldwide. However, we have learned that it had some unintended consequences, even some exacerbating consequences. What can we, as the next generation of social entrepreneurs, do to ensure that our ideas are fully thought out to address unintended consequences? How can these consequences be addressed early? And specific to the Grameen Bank, what would you have done differently knowing now what worked and what didn't work?
Well, I'll give you a short answer. Microcredit became a kind of a brand name which is put on everything. So even the loan sharks in Washington, D.C., they call themselves microcredit because it's a small loan. That's what microcredit is all about. But they don't mention that there's a 2,000% interest rate behind it. So everybody calls themselves microcredit. People who want to make millions of dollars out of lending money to the poor people, they call themselves microcredit. So what I'm saying, there are right microcredit and there's a wrong microcredit. So how to sift the right microcredit out. Right microcredit, like Grameen Bank, for example, we didn't start to make money out of microcredit. That was not an intention. The intention was to help people get out of poverty, and we provide a service which is sustainable. And Grameen Bank is owned by the borrowers themselves, so there's no question of anybody taking money away from them. They sit in the board, they make the decisions about the bank and so on. So that way, if you sift around, all those problems that you talk about probably will disappear. It will go with those people who want to make lots of money out of it. There's a commercial, quote unquote, commercial microcredit and the social microcredit. We promoted the social microcredit. Somebody took it to make money, make it commercial so that you can make money. So we want to stay out of that. So that's one way. And Grameen Bank is a way we have learned along the way. It's not a kind of a bank forever to remain the same. We continuously evolve. So, and I don't know which particular problem the question is referring to, but we don't have such any problem that immediately needs attention because it's owned by the borrowers, they take the money, and it is self-reliant, it doesn't take money from outside. Their borrowers' savings is far bigger than the total loan they take from the bank. So I don't know which one particular reference there is. And now we are paying attention to their children, a new generation which is coming up, so that they can become entrepreneurs and go up much faster than their parents could do because they are illiterate.
Thank you. The second question. What key points do you think need to be conveyed to the next administration? I presume this means next US administration, given the current state of the world and global health and economics?
Well, I will sum up everything I said. I mean, I see the threat is a concentration of wealth. And during election, I'm sure this issue came, you followed that. 0.1% of US population, 0.1% own 90% of the wealth of this country. That's not a sustainable society. If we have to find a way, these are not the people who kind of grab everything. That's not what I'm saying. System is created in that way, that they have no option but to have money. They keep on getting more money. And the whole system is geared to serve them. So I'll raise this issue that this is not sustainable. It will spread in politics, which you see some part of it in your presidential election right now. We have also seen it UK in the Brexit problem, same thing, because people are unhappy at the bottom. They don't know who to accuse. They accuse the one that see their neighbors. They took our jobs, or blame China, take our jobs. But the real issue, I don't get anything. I work, and there's prosperity is happening, but I am not party to that. There's a dance goes on, but I'm not dancing. I'm just spectator of the dance. So that has to be, this is one big issue if a society has to be maintained in its proper shape. All the creativity of human beings to be used, that's a good society. When every person has the capacity to unleash as much of creativity as one can have. The creativity should not be going away with the person without ever discovering what he or she got. That's a poor society. Society should be able to help them unleash that. So this is one. And about social business, we can address many of the problems through social business. We can address the issue of welfare. I said there's no reason why anybody should be a job seeker. And I don't see why anybody should be on welfare for the same reason, because they're entrepreneurs too. But the system never addressed them as entrepreneurs. Said, well, you don't have a job, only solution, you get the government money. That's it. I said, that's a shame. This is a human being with enormous creative capacity, but never get a chance. So how to unleash that energy? Take them into the creative power and so on. Create the financial system to make it happen. And address the youth, the brand new generation of young people who are coming up with enormous capacity. Sometimes I refer to them as the most powerful generation in human history, because they're born with technology which we never had. Enormous technology. And imagine what will the technology would be 10 years from now, 20 years from now. We cannot even imagine what that would be. If you have to describe the world in technological world from today, 10 years from now, you have to write a science fiction. Nothing less than science fiction, because everything will look so impossible, but that will be normal. To justify that statement, I'll say, go back 10 years. Try to see remember what you are. Recently, UN General Assembly just happened in September. UN Secretary General is the outgoing Secretary General. He was making his last speech addressing the General Assembly. At one point, he put his hand into his pocket and bring out a cell phone, a mobile phone. He said, when I took office of the Secretary General, this thing did not exist. Today, this thing controls my life, your life, everybody's life. I said, that's the speed in which we could not imagine that 10 years later we'll have this. Then I was telling my friend next to me, I said, look, imagine what the next Secretary General will say. What is he going to hold up and say, it didn't exist 10 years back when I took the post here. But today, I said, probably he will not have anything in his hand. Because you don't need to carry anything. That will be the technology. You get everything done, but don't carry anything. Maybe something like that. So that's the speed of technology. How to give this technology to young people, bring their creative power to change the whole world. Going the same old route is not the solution. You have to bring new things, completely new structure to make that world happen. This world will screech into halt someplace or explode. There's no other way it can move. Thank you.
Thank you. Our third question. You wrote in your book, Creating a World Without Poverty, that poverty, quote, is not natural to human beings. It is artificially imposed on them, end quote. And as such, you issued a call that poverty could be eliminated and put in museums around the world. How, almost a decade later, do you assess progress towards eliminating poverty and building those museums? And how would you advise students who aim to work in international development and young professionals in that field to most effectively pursue these goals?
Well, the Millennium Development Goal had the goal number 1 to reduce poverty by half by 2015. And Bangladesh, which is one of the poorest countries in the world, achieved that goal by the middle of 2013. So they didn't have to wait for 2015. Reduce poverty very sharply. So this is not a pipe dream, this is real. Today in Bangladesh, population under extreme poverty is 8.5%, coming from 85%. Our journey began with 85% people under poverty line. So with extreme poverty, we came to 8.5%. With poverty level, it will be under 22%. So this is the journey. And we calculate each year what percentage of population got out of poverty in Bangladesh. It started with 1% per year, moved to 2%, 2.5%, 3%. If you stay even with 3%, suppose it doesn't increase more than that, we'll hit the 0 point much earlier than 2030. So we don't have to go up to 2030, which is a Sustainable Development Goal target. Again, goal number 1, reducing poverty to 0 by 2030. So this is a doable thing. That is not what I'm discussing today. I'm discussing, okay, we came out of poverty. Then what? What happens? Who controls all the wealth of the nation? Few people, and we just scramble around to make a living with whatever I got? That's not a safe society. And not only within the country, there are 1% or 0.5% people commanding all the wealth. Look at the total world, where the total global wealth is concentrated. If you look at it, country-wise, you say, country 1 has so much wealth of the world, country 2 has so much percentage of the world. And after you go through 4 or 5 or 6 countries, you have very little left for the rest of the world. That's not a world that you can remain sustainable because of the technology. You cannot hide things anymore. It's so transparent. People will say, why? Are you smarter than me? Do I work less than you? I don't see you working, but you get a lot of money. You keep getting money. So people ask questions. And when people start asking questions, identifying what's happening, they will not be happy people. They will be very angry people. And that's not good for society. When you have few people who are happy and many people very unhappy, that is a society which will be in conflict. So that's what happened. But the poverty will go because of the circumstances that we have now. We can do that, we can address that. There are many mechanisms which we are doing that. So that will be done. We can create poverty museums after that work.
Thank you. And now one final question. You have experienced so much over the course of your illustrious career. Which achievement stands out as one in which you are most proud?
Well, what can I say? I would say defiance. I kind of defied rules. I don't take this as granted. Well, you cannot touch it. I'm willing to touch it, redesign it. So I don't take that this is so important that if you take it off, whole thing fall apart. I said, let fall it apart, but let me explore what it is. So I came up with these ideas for me, whether it makes sense to people or not, I don't know. Like I'm saying that employment is an artificial concept. Our whole world is promising, excuse me, promising for creating jobs. I said, no, that's not the world. You shouldn't be creating jobs. You'll be creating jobs creators. That's what the whole system worked for that, not the way we have designed things. Whatever you do, you have to find a way how to express your entrepreneurial capacity, your creative capacity, come in the full blossom. Other than that, no meaning in human life. Human life is meaningful because we can use our creative capacity to contribute, not for survival. Survival is an animal instinct. That should remain with animals because they work all the day to find their food. That's the only thing they do. But human beings, this is granted. This, you will have it. You go beyond that. Your capacity is much beyond that. You take care of everybody, whole planet, and make it happy, make it viable world. So that's what we should be doing. So defiance, I think, is a very important element. Not to accept anything given. Try it out, and don't follow the same old rules that has brought the world this way. If you follow the same rule, you go the same direction. Same wealth concentration, same old things happening. So you have to undo many of those things. Concepts are at fault, and that's where university is so important. It's not a government legislation. Structure has to be changed. That's what is done by the universities, professors, students, challenging everything to redesign, not improving. This was here, I took it to the next step. That is one way. But say, this is not the one. I have alternative. This is the alternative. There are so many alternatives. But you come to the capitalist system, there is no alternative. You go inside of capitalist system, they say, well, you have to create business to make money. And they have no other thing. Because business or economy is run by personal interest, self-interest. Why should it be running for self-interest? Self-interest or selfishness is a very small part of human being. But you built the whole economic structure based on selfishness. I said, what happened to the selflessness? Why can't we build businesses on the basis of selflessness? I want to change the world. That's why I'm doing that. I don't want to make money for myself. Sometimes I say, why should people do that? What is in there for them? Money is the real driver of the economy. You give the profit, maximize profit, get excited, and that's why the wheel of economy turns around. I said, I agree that money is a big driving force behind the economy, but I don't agree that money is the only driving force in the whole world. I said, there are other issues. And I tried to explain it by saying, making money is happiness. That's why we run after money. Making money is happiness. Making other people happy is a super happiness. So why didn't you follow it? Try it out. If it is so, then go ahead, do it. So the alternative is needed, not just one, so no choice. You give options. So for young people, you give options, whether you want to create business to make money or you want to create business to solve problems. Why do you say, no, you have to do this way? I don't want to decide for him or her. Let him or her decide what kind of life he or she wants. These are the options I teach in the classroom. This is a business, you make lots of money by doing that. This is a business, you change the world by doing things, solving pieces and pieces of problems. If you solve one tiny little piece of a problem, one thin slice of a problem, you can change the whole world, because rest is just a repetition. You found something which can be repeated. And microcredit is a good example. We started in one village, now it's a global phenomenon in challenging the entire financial system itself. Still, financial system has not changed because of microfinance. Microfinance is a kind of a footnote to the financial sector. They look at, okay, it's a cute looking thing. Okay, let's move on. That has to be changed completely. Financial system has to work for everybody, not for the big ones. Today, the big ones become bigger because the entire financial system is their service. They don't care for the unemployed young person, that he has a great business idea. Nobody cares for the business idea. You have to find a job, whatever job you got. Even if you have to go for minimum wage job, go ahead, do that. That's the wrong system. I'm saying give the financial system available and make it sustainable. It's not free money. So that's the option that has to be given to people to make that happen. So I can take, for example, employment issue. I said, to begin, we can say, here is the option. You can be a job seeker, you can be a job creator. Decide which one you want. That's not asking not too big thing. So one can decide, follow up, should I become a job seeker or should I become a job creator? And then one will decide. Today, there is no option. You give your degree from the university, he's in the meantime negotiating where he wants to get a job. Many universities pride themselves, by the time the commencement ceremony comes, they have their appointment letter in the pocket. I said, I don't know whether I'm excited about it. I feel sorry for them, because they could have been excellent entrepreneurs themselves. They never found it out. You never gave them a chance to find it out. We encouraged them to find out what to do. There are a lot of recruitment people come in the campus to find out where they will take them or will have a job for them. I said, no financial institutions come. You come up with business ideas, we'll invest in your business. No such thing will happens right now. I said, why not? Because they're not interested in you. They're interested in the big guy who has a proven record. I give you $1 billion, he gives me $1.5 billion, I'm okay. That system doesn't change anybody's life. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are also here this evening to honor Professor Muhammad Yunus with a presentation of the President's Medal, the highest honor awarded by the President of our university. Now it is my pleasure to welcome the 16th President of the George Washington University, Dr. Stephen Knapp.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean Brigady. Thank you for the introduction and also for moderating that fascinating discussion with Professor Yunus. I'm really delighted to join you all this evening in the historic Lisner Auditorium, and particularly delighted that we're able to take this opportunity to honor Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus with the George Washington University's President's Medal. The medal was established in 1988, and today Professor Yunus joins an illustrious line of recipients that includes art education advocates Susan Benedetto and Tony Bennett, renowned physician and art patron Luther Brady Jr., noted musicians Dave Brubeck and Judy Collins, distinguished journalist and commentator Walter Cronkite, playwright and statesman Václav Havel, and Nobel laureates Mikhail Gorbachev and Shimon Peres. And it's now my pleasure to confer the medal, which I will do beginning with reading the citation that is framed on the stage behind Professor Yunus. You were born in 1940 in a small village in what is now Bangladesh. You were the third of 14 children, 5 of whom died in infancy. Your father was a successful goldsmith who encouraged you to pursue higher education. But the person who had the largest influence on you was your mother. Her willingness to help any poor person who knocked on your family's door inspired you to commit your life to eradicating poverty. You earned bachelor's and master's degrees from Bangladesh's Dhaka University in 1960 and 61. You then received a Fulbright scholarship that enabled you to study in the United States, where you earned a doctorate in economics at Vanderbilt University in 1969. You returned to Bangladesh in 1972, the year the nation became independent, and you joined the University of Chittagong as chairman of the economics department. After you led students on a field trip to a rural village where you saw firsthand the effects of predatory lending on impoverished people, you started to experiment with making collateral-free loans to the poor. You first lent money from your own pocket to destitute basket weavers. The project grew into Grameen Bank, or Village Bank, which became a full-fledged lending institution in 1983. Since then, Grameen Bank has provided collateral-free loans to the poor, mostly women, in rural Bangladesh, and allowed them to repay the loans on their own terms. Today, Grameen Bank has grown to more than 8.6 million borrowers, 97% of whom are women. A full 97% of the loans are paid back, a recovery rate higher than any other banking system. In creating Grameen Bank, you started a worldwide movement to end poverty through microlending. In recognition of your pioneering work to combat poverty, you have been honored with 112 awards from 26 countries. You have also received 55 honorary degrees from 20 universities across the globe. In 2006, you and Grameen Bank were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for your work, quote, to create economic and social development from below. You are one of only 7 individuals to have received the Nobel Peace Prize, the United States Presidential Medal of Freedom, and the United States Congressional Gold Medal. In 2012, Fortune magazine named you one of the greatest entrepreneurs of our time. Among your many affiliations, you serve on the board of the United Nations Foundation, the Schwab Foundation, the Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundation, and the Chirac Foundation. You have appeared on the covers of Time, Newsweek, and Forbes magazines, and your model of microlending has been emulated in more than 100 countries. Muhammad Yunus, in recognition of all the foregoing, I take great pleasure and pride in bestowing upon you the George Washington University President's Medal.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, President Knapp. I'm overwhelmed by this honor you give me this evening. I take this as a kind of endorsement of the work that I do and all my colleagues who participate in it. This will inspire them that you recognize their work. And also, this also recognizes that we can work together, because not only this recognition and honor, also it's a friendship. It's a shaking hands that we have together. And as I said, it's my family visit. That family becomes closer, tighter, so that we can achieve a dream. Any person has to have a dream. Any institution has to have a dream. And I try to take the dream a shape in terms of 3 zeros. Let's work together to make that 3 zeros happen. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this evening's program. Thank you very much for coming. Have a good night.